Okay, welcome back to part two of Absolutism. We talked about France in the first, excuse me, talked about France in the first section. Today, we're going to talk about Spain and the Holy Roman Empire. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Habsburg family. Um, and of all the royal families in Europe during this time, the Habsburg family is going to be by far the most powerful. They're going to rule multiple kingdoms. They're going to rule the kingdom of France. I'm sorry, they're going to rule the kingdom of Spain, and they're going to and they're going to oversee the Holy Roman Empire. And so the first Habsburg we're going to chat about here is Charles V, and Charles V is going to oversee the Holy Roman Empire and Spain and Spain at the same time. He's going to be in control of the Holy Roman Empire during the period of the Reformation. And so that's a lot. It's basically all of modern day Germany and the surrounding areas, Poland, those types of places, and as well as Spain. And so he's going to step down, and he's going to split up his duties. It's too much to oversee at the same time. At the same time, while he's also overseeing the Holy Roman Empire and Spain, he's also in control of basically all of Latin America and all the Spanish colonies in the New World. So he's got a lot on his plate. It's too much. He splits it up between Ferdinand, who is his brother. He gives Ferdinand the Holy Roman Empire, and he gives his son Philip II control of Spain, the Netherlands, and all of the overseas empire. So we can let me go here. Next slide. Next slide. You can see all the areas in red are the areas that Charles V controlled. And so, I mean, that might arguably be the largest empire ever overseen by somebody. It's ginormous. It's too much. And so he steps down, and he gives control of Spain over to his son Philip II, and that's who we're going to focus on here because that ties most into our story here. Philip II, he's king of Spain. He's also he's the former husband of, he's the widower of Mary Tudor. If you guys remember. From King Henry VIII, we have excuse me, we have Henry VIII's first daughter, Mary, is from the Spanish princess, and she marries Philip II, and he's co-monarch of England at one point, and then she dies, and then Elizabeth takes over, and blah blah blah. Right. So, anyways, he's king of Spain. He's very, very powerful, very devoutly Catholic, and he sees himself as the defender of Catholicism in Europe. He wants to make sure that Catholicism doesn't lose any more ground to Protestantism or whatever. And then he also wants to regain areas that have lost the Catholic faith, mainly England. Okay. So Spain wants to, the Spanish want to restore Catholicism to all of Europe. Spain controls the Netherlands, and the Netherlands, if you remember, are very religiously tolerant. That's why the Puritans or the Pilgrims originally moved to the Netherlands to escape religious persecution in England. They go to the Netherlands and they find out that just because the Netherlands is welcoming to them, they're also going to be welcoming to other religions, and the Puritans don't like that. So Philip wants to restore strict Catholicism in the Netherlands and starts to send troops there to put down, to round up religiously tolerant people that are practicing Protestantism or Muslims or whatever, right? And the English start to support a revolution or a rebellion from the Dutch. So they're kind of fighting the Spanish backhandedly. And then also they start to use this idea of privateers, where they support basically pirates that they give pirates the right to go and attack the Spanish. And so they do that. And Philip II is just furious over this because he was at one point, he was Elizabeth's brother-in-law. When his wife dies, Mary, he actually proposes to Elizabeth, who's now the monarch of England, and she refuses him. So not only did she refuse him, but then she's supporting his enemies in Netherlands. And so he wants to do away with Elizabeth and restore Catholicism to England. And so forms this invasion fleet. It's 130 ships. It's, I don't know, 1,000, 1,300 people, soldiers that are going to go and invade England and restore Catholicism to England and dethrone Elizabeth. And so here we go. Anyways, they're going to sail out of Spain. And the English are going to see them coming. You can't amass an armada like this or an invasion force without being detected. And so they get detected. England has the English ships are much faster. The privateers are much faster. They're like little sports cars. They're going to grab you and steal your stuff and then drive off. Well, the Spanish have kind of like semi-trailers. They're boats that are made to move large quantities of men or goods or whatever. And so the English have faster boats. They have better cannons that can shoot further distances. And so along this route from Spain to the English Channel, the Spanish troops or the Spanish boats are going to be harassed by these privateers from England. And then when the Spanish port in in France, and they're waiting for troops to march down from the Netherlands to join this invasion force, the English attack them in the ports. They light their boats on fire. They use fire ships. They get their boat moving forward and they load it full of gunpowder and they light it on fire. And then like the guy steers it and jumps off the boat, right? And the whole idea is to try to cause mass chaos in the port with the Spanish, and they're successful in doing that. And so they hit a couple of the Spanish boats and they sink some of them. And then the Spanish sail out of the harbor trying to get away from those fire ships, and the English privateer boats with the better cannons set there, and they lob cannonballs at the Spanish as they come out. And so then the Spanish are demolished. Their fleet is decimated. So then they try to sail around north around England, and they get caught in a storm, and some of the boats sink. And so this Spanish Armada fails. They never even try to invade England. They've lost enough power that they don't. And then I think a third of the boats return, and it's a huge military defeat for the Spanish that they never really recover from. And it's almost like this high water point of the Spanish Empire going up, and the English Empire was down here. And then once they hit the Spanish Armada, the English Empire starts to grow. The English colonies in the New World take off. This is about the time of Jamestown and the Pilgrims and those types of things. 1588. So we're really looking 1609, I think, is when Jamestown is founded, and then 1620 is when the Pilgrims come over. So I mean, we're within that first lifetime generation of that. And so it's this turning point in Europe where Spain begins to fade in power and England begins to grow. The Spanish, for a good almost 100 years, they had more money than they knew what to do with. They have all this money coming in, gold and silver coming in from the colonies, from Mexico and from Latin America and South America. And when you have that much money get introduced into your economy in a short period of time, you're going to see inflation shoot through the roof. And at the same time, people are making so much money that they no longer have to, you don't have to innovate. You don't have to, do the menial jobs that you don't want to anymore. And so they start to do that. And then because of Philip II's devotion to Catholicism, he expels all Muslims and Jews from Spain. And so a lot of them are like skilled merchants and artisans. And so you're going to start to lose those middle classes or those laboring classes. And so, those people are the ones that are going to spur your economy. And so your economy starts to sag. And at the same time, like we said, in an absolute monarchy, you see high levels of taxation. And so the people of Spain start to rebel against this high level of taxes. And so you start to see the decline of the Spanish Empire during that time frame. All right, the end of the Habsburg reign comes tragically through no fault of this guy. This guy is Charles II. He's going to be the last Habsburg king. And if there's ever a sympathetic character in history, it is Charles II. he is blameless in all of his problems, right? Um, Charles II is a product of inbreeding, and because of that, he has such physical and mental challenges that he's unable to rise to the occasion to help the Spanish Empire, right? If we look at the family tree of Charles II, he's down here at the bottom. If you can follow my cursor, so um, here you have Philip II. Um, um, well, I'm sorry, you have Charles V up here, and Charles V was Holy Roman Emperor, and he was king of Spain, and he marries Isabella of Portugal, right? And on his father's side, that is the last non-Habsburg wife that comes into this family in 150 years. On his mother's side, you have a little bit of people coming in, but it's only, I mean, it's 150 years away. And so you look back here. So Charles II, his father was Philip IV, and he marries his niece, which is pretty gross. But actually, there's not a but to that. It's pretty gross. The idea behind what the Habsburgs are doing here is they're trying to consolidate all of their power. So, like, if you marry outside of the family, then you know, again, if pizza is a power, if there's only so much pizza to go around, and if you only marry within your family, then you keep all that pizza within your family. And so, you know, you look at Philip II over here, he marries his niece, and they have Philip III, who marries his second cousin, and they have Philip IV, who marries his niece. Um, and so, you know, these are all, if you can see this over here on the right hand side, you see different levels of inbreeding, which you want 0 levels of inbreeding in your family tree. You want your family tree to branch out. The Habsburg family tree basically becomes a single branch by the period of Charles II. You know, he's going to be a level 5 of inbreeding, which is pretty bad. Charles's father marries his niece, but his niece is actually a product of first cousins marrying, which is rough. And then, you know, Charles and his Charles and his sister are actually products of second cousins, right? And so there's just a lot of incest within this family. I guess it wouldn't be incest; it's inbreeding. Because I'm going to just make the assumption that it's that these relationships are consensual, or at least they're arranged and understood. So there's just high levels of inbreeding that are going to prevent Charles II from functioning like a normal adult. The Habsburg family has so much inbreeding that they actually developed something called the Habsburg jaw, which you can see here in a coin. It's a very big protruding bottom jaw. This is Charles V on a coin. And then here's, you know, this is a painting. That's kind of a grainy painting of Charles II. You know, and he has the accentuated jaw that sticks out. And if you guys are Family Guy friends, they kind of make fun of this with James William Bottomtooth III. He's kind of the uppity rich guy that shows up in the series every now and then. So you have that. So the Habsburg family is going to come to an end because of the inbreeding that happens. I have a brief reading here. If you want to click on, when you go into the PowerPoint itself, the notes itself, it just talks about Charles, you know, and just how horrible, you know, how unfortunate his life was. You know, he was, you know, he's born, he's king, and he becomes king when he's at the age of 4. And his mother kind of runs the crown, and he was born into this political strife between all the nations of England or of Europe at that time. Again, the Habsburgs were so bent on keeping power as they had for a few hundred years that they often married their own blood relatives. After 16 generations of this, Charles II's family was so inbred that his grandmother and his aunt were actually the same person, right? And so that's weird, right? Charles's most prominent feature was his jaw, which is known as the Habsburg jaw, and it identifies him as part of the royal family. And his two rows of teeth, actually, they couldn't touch. So his jaw protruded to the point that his teeth couldn't touch, so he's unable to even chew his own food. And it says here that his tongue is so huge that he could barely speak, and he wasn't allowed to walk until he's almost full grown, and his family didn't bother to educate him, so he's illiterate and he's completely dependent on those around him. And he marries, and that doesn't work well. That doesn't work, and so he doesn't have any kids from them. And Charles II has a second wife who comes from an Austrian family, um, um, who came, her parents had 23 kids. So, the idea is, hey, they're going to have at least one kid. And of course that doesn't work. And because, Charles II is not able to perform because his body doesn't allow him to. And so, just really, just really sad that this guy, he goes around, he dies at the age of 39, and because he has no children, that leads to that War of Spanish Succession, which Louis Louis the 13th or Louis the 14th's grandson, or Louis the 13th's grandson becomes king of France. And so that's going to bring us, I believe that brings us to, where are we at? Oops. That brings us to the end of, oops, the wrong thing here. Oops, come on. Oops. That's going to bring us to the end of the Habsburgs. And I'll just do another video for England, and we'll call it good there. So hopefully you guys come back for that, and we will chat later. Bye-bye.